Okay, we're back for real this time. I just need to figure out how I need to pop this bad boy out. Okay, that's actually live. Grab this and link this to here. And cool. I really need to get this to be better looking, but that is a problem for another day. We are back. Welcome to the inaugural Bird Talk #1, which I am purely naming on this because I have finally gotten a guest scheduled for this, and that just makes it seem a little more official to me. I'm still in this in between state. However, I have finally gotten a new apartment set up that I will be in a couple weeks. So I'll be able to get my normal recording set up and everything going again, not be like dealing with this green screen or living in a house with a bunch of people or I'm going against other schedules, but future day. But hey Dom, hey Dimitri, welcome to another one. This is the first official Bird Talk. I think I named the last one 0 because I just wanted to try it out and see how like the green screen and everything worked. But in about 15 minutes, I will be joined by Christopher Navo, which I'm pretty excited about. Just because that's like the original reason I even wanted to make this was so I could like talk to other authors, booktubers, kind of be like a hybrid like live podcast type of deal where I could like interact with y'all, talk to other people, have an actual excuse to like social network and talk to other people because that is probably the thing I am the worst at with these other than consistently getting Malazan videos out. Know my weaknesses, trying to adapt and overcome. But welcome everybody. This too, I think I put it in the description, is kind of like my way to not have to like constantly edit and record like TBRs and wrap up videos because those are my worst performing videos and also the least fun to make. So I like kind of having this like informal setting just to talk about like what I've been reading, what's coming up next, what I think about certain books. Eventually, I'll probably have like a segment where I try to like time myself and do like 1 minute quick reviews on things that I don't really want to make like big videos on. That's that's for another day. And then also with me waiting on trying to get Sun to my new place, I'm holding off on some of the Malazan videos I have planned, along with some of these like bigger series wrap up videos I want to do. Like Beware of Chicken, I talked about it last week, but I finished everything that was out for that. And so rather than doing like first book, second book, third book, I'm just gonna do a big, highly edited like video throwing everything together. And my brother also, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, he had a YouTube channel for a while and he's into like animation and stuff. So I'm gonna have him, or like, since he's like a poor college student, start coming in and paying him to do like some cheap animation for me. So I'm actually gonna be really excited with like the end product of some of these things because having to get through 10 1,000 to 1,500 page books to make a big series wrap up, I never got to any of these because of like the just entry work trying to even getting into it. So with some of these like lit RPGs I'm doing and like quicker series, I'm excited to actually like put together video essay style content. And also, if you guys haven't seen, I have cats here who does not want to be on camera. But this week I have, because I don't want to like get too much into my big normal style videos where I'm like deep diving into books, just because editing with a green screen adds like another layer of just like added stuff you want to do. I've done it a few times. Do you want to come up? But for like longer videos, I just haven't been like super happy with how those have like come out. So this week I am gotten 2 or 3 sketches that have been scripted out. Some specifically are going to be Malazan, and then a couple are going to be like more just general fantasy things. But no. I have not finished Malazan. I was using that as a reference because that was one of the series that I wanted to like finish and do a big, huge like video on it. But finishing Malazan in itself is its own giant thing, especially because there's no way I could like read all 10, have it all in my brain, and then do a big video on. I mean, that video, like a regular video, is going to be like an hour long, but I try to have my like series wrap-up video probably just be like an hour long to do as well. Yeah, I'm like halfway through the 4th book, and so I have all my notes written down for like book 3, but I'm gonna wait to do my spoiler talk video for a couple weeks just so I can actually like record it in my new place and have it like set up with like a backdrop and everything. Just make it a bit easier on myself. I said this last week, but I think for like the next book, I'm gonna read it in secret. Like I let you guys know when I'm like reading it, and like through the live stream, I'm gonna like talk about it, of course. But I think I'm gonna wait till I have everything recorded except for the big video, just for like spoiler talks. So that way, like I can just release them like sequentially or like back to back to back, so you guys aren't like waiting on that stuff, or there's no like anticipation where it's like it's gonna come out like in a week or two, and then I pick up my entire life and move over 1,000 miles across country and just having to deal with that on top of everything else. But that'll be its own thing. But I do have some sketches where I will be acting out as Steven Erickson. I'm pretty excited about, and largely are going to be inspired by my process of Reaper's Gale, along with like some tangential things. Okay, cool. I tell everybody if you like the Blade itself, you'll love the rest of the series because that's like the weakest book I think in all of his things because there's not really a plot really to it. But some people aren't huge fans, and like I know a couple people who I've seen on like BookTube that will get to like book 3 and then just like not like it. And I haven't read the standalones and the rest of it, but I've heard like they're considered consistently better. So that's something that I'll be excited to like get into eventually. But I'm also about to like switch into a couple more like mainstream books. I think next up on my TBR, I finished book 4 of The Wandering Inn, and I'm now like going through book 5 because those are long and easy for me to like get notes on. But I'll be doing some stuff with like King Killer Chronicle and The Cosmere coming up next, like reading. Okay, I haven't heard of that one. But Joe Abercrombie is one of my favorite like authors. I think just for like his prose and characterization and like the way he does grimdark, it's really cool. It's an idea I eventually want to do once I finish both Malazan and the rest of like Erickson stuff. But a cool like grimdark comparison between those two series, I think, would be a lot of fun. Kitty, decide what you want to do. They're just like going behind me and like scratching at the chair, which is more than a little distracting. This is also Ragnar, by the way. He's my cat's brother, for you seen Mister in like some of my other videos, kind of popping in there, and similar personality. Likes to like get up and everything, and just like generally be in the way. But yeah, no. The Wandering Inn book 4 was really good. I'm really excited for like book 5, and so far it's been really good. I was wondering like how this was such a long series because like it's significantly longer than The Wheel of Time. But the thing that I finally realized about this being like 5 books in is that while like the main plot isn't like the driving force behind it, like if I was in book 5 and for the length of these, if they had just focused on like the initial characters they introduced and just kept like pushing it forward based off that plot, then the series probably would be like close to being older or over. But instead, like they introduced so many interesting side characters and like backstories where it's like, oh, here's like a critical plot point of like what's going to come next. And rather than like going forward with the plot, they'll actually go and then just completely dive into like the backstory of that, just really flesh out certain characters. And so like the cast of this is like massive, and there's like no sparing detail of just like everything kind of being like woven together. And I've been enjoying it a lot. It's definitely one of the more like epic in like scale things that's going on, especially with some of the things they've set up, and the way it's like written is just very like cozy and comfortable to read. You're not having to really focus too hard. It's not like Erickson with like the deeper meaning and like digging into it. I mean, there's cool messages and stuff in there, and I do enjoy the prose of everything, but it's just one of those like books I can have playing and do like stuff. Like I've tried to do audiobook in Malazan, and that did not work whatsoever. I would just like space out, do something if I wasn't like fully focusing on Malazan. It would just all like fly out of my head, and then I'd be reading the like chapter summaries on the Tor reread, and it was like, wait, this happened? This happened? How did I miss all this stuff? This makes like zero sense. But getting into like Wandering In, it's kind of like the Spellmonger series where a lot happens and there's a lot of like cool world building and thought that's gone into this. But you know, if you miss something, it's not a big deal, and generally it's not going to be as like dense and focused as anything. And when you look at like chapter summaries for it, it's like, oh yeah, no, I remember everything about this, because a lot of it's more focused on like sort of how the characters react to the plot rather than the intricate hidden plot stuff of Malazan, which is kind of a good back and forth because I'm still doing Reaper Scale, so it's kind of like my palate cleanser for like both. But that's going to be one that I have a huge backlog for because I like the series enough. I'm going to do like individual book videos for each one, and it's like an audiobook, like 40 hours long, 50 hours long, 60 hours long, 40 hours long. It's really crazy. Okay. I'm also pretty excited for getting back into like Patrick Rothfuss and some of his stuff. I haven't reread any of his things in quite a while. I know I've made like a bunch of sketches for it, but just the reaction of the community at large, it seems like a lot of people either just like fully get onto that and they're just going like wild with how it's the greatest series ever and how he's like such a genius and how it's like their favorite thing. And I really enjoyed it when I read it before, but then other people are like, this is so overhyped, I hate it. And just like the comments that I get on my videos for like the back and forth of like, you know, just kind of poking fun at Quoth has been interesting. So I'll be curious what like the full review reception for that will be, because I think it will be polarizing. I don't think it's gonna be negative. I might talk about like how I think Quoth is a Mary Sue, and if you haven't read Patrick Rothfuss like good read profile bio, that was the one that like cemented me thinking he's a Mary Sue, because I could imagine Quoth writing something for it, but it's very out there and entertaining to like go, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think I'll finish like Malazan and The Wandering In before Doors of Stone ever comes out. Like, and that's like with my current pace. I'm gonna once I get like less chaotic, I'll focus more on Malazan, but we'll see when it comes out. I feel like we're due for at least like one more novella and probably a rewrite of something else before we ever see Doors of Stone. But I'll be excited if it does come out. I think it got like trapped by that convention he set up because it was supposed to be a story told in 3 nights, and with the amount of like plot stuff set up, there was no way he's gonna be able to finish that in a single book. Or even like, I think if he wrote like a giant single book, then that would be kind of like Jim Butcher's Battlegrounds, where you have to like split it up in 2. But he doesn't have to like stick to that convention, but I think he's trying really hard to stick to that convention. I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna like backseat right, but one of those like Quoth's main like weaknesses is arrogance. So just like even the idea that he would tell it in 3 nights is kind of like pretty arrogant for like a legendary life story. So just like turn it into 5 books or 6 books. There's definitely a fan base, and if he started like publishing things again, I think that the fan base at large would be like pretty happy. But watching some people like Captured in Words, I really like his YouTube channel and like his editing style, but he makes a lot of King Killer content. And even he was just like, come on, it's been like 14 years since the last book was released. And 4 years after like that joking one where it's like he released Wise Man's Fear 2014. And it was like, I'll release next one 2020. And now it's like we're like at a full like over 10 years of when it was supposed to come out. But it's interesting. He's an interesting case. I feel like he's good enough that if he starts publishing, then a lot of like the hate will like die back down. But like with that charity stuff too, it was just kind of not the best. Oh, and other miscellaneous non like booktube specific related stuff. In my last like 2 3 months of chaotic living of couches and friends and having fun, I have started to get fat again, at least for me. So I'm starting up on another like ridiculous fitness challenge where if you guys knew me in person, I do a lot of these, whether it be like dumb ultra marathon things where you wake up every 4 hours to run 4 miles for like 2 days straight. So you're going off like 3 hours of sleep to wake up at midnight to go run 4 miles. So I'm doing it's called 75 hard, and I've done it before. It's just kind of like towards the end working out twice a day. Really hard, just will take its toll on everything, and then like chugging like a gallon of water today. If you've never done it, I don't know if that's like the best like jump back into like fitness thing. But I will say, at least when I'm on it, I wind up getting like hyper productive, which is one of the main reasons I'm doing it. But if I have to get up and leave in the middle of this because I have to pee, that's because I have been like working on this bad boy all day, and I wanted to be done like 3 hours ago, but I'm not quite there. Okay, so I go to the gym every day. My main thing is diet. Like right now, it's like it has happened when I first got into like working out. I got more into like powerlifting, and like my weights for like what I was lifting got like really high. But then I was like built like a chubby gorilla, just because like all of this got like massive. But then I got like the belly or the powerlifting belly, so it's one of those like I plug in my like weights to the strength calculators and I'd be like elite and everything. But then just like my original plan of like looking like I could like walk out on the beach or like be like aesthetic just went like right out the door, and it just quickly devolved into like, oh shit, I guess I can't eat 4,000 calories in a day no matter how long I'm in the gym for, because not sustainable unless you're doing like that sport specifically. I think I would have made a good sumo wrestler in another life with like my main hobbies being like jujitsu, and I think I could competitively eat. But it's 7:30. I told Chris that I would go and bring him up, but I'm realizing that I did not add this thing, so let me try to add this in here. I probably should have done this before. Sorry. Give me 1 sec to get my chat thing in. Alter that. Alright. I haven't tried this before. I'm hoping I can like switch this over. Can you guys see this? Do you see like me sharing my screen? It should just be like that infinite window. Or is it still like posted on me. I guess I can also check it. Okay, cool. All right, let me give Chris a call. Oh man, I was worried about this. I desperately am in need of a better way of doing this. All right, I'm gonna remove this. Go back to here. This should pop up. Unless I have this used in other places. Oh god. Okay. Not as good, but I will take it. All right. Let us Hey, Christopher, how's it going? Oh, wait, let me... I've been trying to, like, get my, like, Discord stuff to work, but my, I think it's trying to, like, link through my mic again. Let me check some stuff. So one thing I like about streaming is, like, I'm just every time having to, refigure everything out on the fly. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's done this a couple times before where I'll like start to try to like get it going and it'll just like go to try to put stuff out through my like speaker.
Right.
I was trying to get like my main camera to work where I had like a nice little green screen background, but then it just like freaked out because I only have like one video card.
You usually have a green screen going on, or
Yeah, I'm like in the process of moving right now, so it'll be a couple weeks before I get back to our normal
oh, that's
setup. So it's like right now I'm set up in my like mom's place for a couple weeks because I was moving across state, and so just my normal like setup with everything's just like slightly off. And I was like, I can either wait and continue to not post videos for a while, or I could just like run straight back into it.
What state are you in again, Sean?
What's that?
What state are you in again?
Right now I'm in Texas. I was in Colorado for about a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Okay, yeah, quite a difference.
It's a bit. I was like a military brat, so I moved around a lot, and then I like also like went into the military. So it was one of those. I wound up in Texas like when I was all said and done. So like I went to school here, and I was like, I have a remote software job. Let me go live in other places. And I got hit with like 2 Colorado winters, and I was like, I need to go back to like actual warm places and stuff I'm more familiar with. It was a cool place though. I don't
No, I
regret
get
moving
that.
there.
I felt the same when I lived in Florida.
Oh,
I
okay.
lived in Florida for 5 years, Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, nice.
Um, it's interesting, but I gotta say, I'm a little more of a colder temperate kind of
Yeah,
guy. So Seattle is a lot more manageable.
yeah.
I think,
Oh, I bet.
and I get that. And the winters are mild here; they're not bad.
Yeah.
They're just raining.
See, I think I would enjoy that more. I went to high school in Florida actually, in like Gainesville, so I enjoyed like that weather, and I prefer colder weather. It's just like where I was at in Colorado, I was like renting a house, and when you have to dig through like 2 3 feet of snow just to like get into your car and like go anywhere, because you don't plan ahead and buy groceries, it becomes its own like thing where it's like I like this, but I don't like the 3 hours I just spent having to shovel my way to like to freedom.
No, I get that
Yeah.
absolutely. And if you're on the west coast of, or yeah, if you're on the west coast of Washington, you really don't have to deal with a lot of snow.
Okay. Yeah.
We just get a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of my friends from Texas, he got a job at Microsoft, which I think is based out in like Seattle, and like he just like
Yeah.
yeah, he was just saying like he loved it so much
Crossville.
better. Just like the weather, everything to do. I love outdoor stuff, so it's like you get all like that cool Pacific Northwest and just like nothing else. I
So
could deal
many
with
great
some rain.
trails and hike. Yeah,
Oh
we try
yeah.
to do a hike trail
Yeah,
every
okay.
weekend if we can,
Yeah.
especially when it's nicer weather.
Yeah. That's pretty sick. So yeah, welcome to Bird Talk,
Thank you.
the thing I have slapped together as a way to stop having to make TBR videos and potentially like try to clip and self promote. I'm really bad about like I guess the cross community collaboration stuff, so I thought this would be a cool way
Great.
because like we've commented back and forth on our stuff for like a while, and it's like easier to just like, hey, do you want to pop onto this versus like, you should send me some video and I can send you some video and we can separately edit like and spend hours of time trying to like get everything put up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things that when I started BookTube was I really wanted to do live streams and
Yeah.
live chats. I think for myself, I plan to try to start doing those myself into this. I'm heading into the second year with BookTube and
Okay.
kind of taking a little bit of a hiatus
Yeah.
for like a couple weeks just to get like personal business stuff taken care of. But when I get back, I
Oh,
want to
for sure.
start scheduling.
It's pretty fun. I mean, that was one thing I noticed when I was starting to join some of like the booktube discords and everything was that I saw you like months before you ever started your channel, like just actively participating in all of them, which I thought was like really cool because it was like
It's
I would join a
it's
new
a lot of work.
booktube discord and like start participating, and then I would just like see like you posting stuff. So you probably already experienced a good bit about this, but the cool thing I've enjoyed with like live streaming is just kind of having the instant like feedback with like chat and everything, just because it's easy like when you're recording like books in like your like room or your office, and it's like you make it, you can get like comments and stuff on there, but for me when people actually like started showing up to it and like it's like, oh wow, people are actually watching me, that's pretty cool. It like never really like sunk in
Yeah,
until like that happened.
I think we did a. I think I did a first live stream with like a TV show with a fellow booktuber.
Okay.
I think we were watching One Piece, and I mean, in the beginning, yeah, not everybody catches on to live streams, and not everybody. I find I'm finding with live streams, not everybody can make it live all the time, but people
Yeah.
will watch the playback.
Yeah.
So you might not get a lot of people watching live, but your playback, it starts coming
Oh, for sure.
uh, people watching it. So, it's usually a time thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, everyone's on like different like time zones too. I think I got like a ping that
Right.
like Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews was like going live, and I think it was at like midnight. But he's also like a West Coast guy, so it was just midnight for
Yeah.
me. But
But
like a
that's even
reasonable
late
time.
for me.
Yeah, it was like even like 9 or 10 p.m. It's like I try to get these at like 7 my time because then it's like you can still have like a night going.
Right.
I
No,
got
absolutely.
I don't think you can see it, but I have like a chat pulled up, and one of the Demodrake in my chat was wondering what you're reading at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I have the sleeve right here. But I am reading Renia
Okay.
by Carl Forshaw. It's a dark fantasy. I don't. I wish I can give you more on it right now because
Yeah.
I'm only 3 chapters in, but it's definitely caught my interest. I was reading some prior to the live chat.
Yeah.
Getting kind of lost in it. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. It's a debut author. I'm a big promoter for indie books,
Yeah.
so he is an indie author. But I also have Shogun going on
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of like
And
my latest TV obsession. But I love the original like miniseries they made, and like that original book. I read it when I was like I think 13 or 14, and seeing it come back has been really awesome.
yeah, and then I'll be starting Demon in White by Christopher Rocket.
Oh, okay.
Probably next week,
Nice.
if everything goes well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, uh, I think I saw a comment about Malazan too. I'm kind of in the middle of Malazan too. I kind of read a lot of different things all at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm finding that a little more enjoyable for reading.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in Memories of Ice right now for that, and yeah, I'm a little early in that one as well, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay. How'd you like the first two books?
I feel like now it's funny. I read Gardens of the Moon
Yeah.
when it first came out, like way back in the early 2000s, and I liked it. But yeah, I mean, I was overwhelmed, of course,
Yeah.
with all the names and all the characters and the world. But I think it caught my interest. On the side, I'm a writer too of fantasy,
Yeah.
and I do credit Steven Erikson as kind of one of my influencers. So even just that first book just really like sparked that interest. Ironically, I did not continue the series at that time in life.
Yeah.
But I came back to it not too long ago, a couple months ago, and yeah, I read Gardens of the Moon and then Dead House Gates. I do feel wow, Dead House Gates was just amazing.
Yeah.
I loved Dead House Gates. I felt like maybe Gardens of the Moon was sort of like a setup book a little bit.
Yeah.
Like kind of like almost like a prologue book it felt like to me, introducing, characters and all that. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's I'm a huge fan of the series now. I barely got through the first two books, and it's kind of, I guess, a testament to like the Malazan community, because like when I made videos on it, it was just like if I wasn't on like YouTube reviewing books, I don't think I would have made it through like book one or two. I appreciated what he was doing at the time, but I think the first two books especially, he was just like trying to do something like really different. And I also like write on the side, and I think probably similar like motivation to even making a booktube channel is that, I've always thought like, all right, you sit down, you write your indie book, or say you don't want to go through traditional publishing for whatever reason. For me, it's creative control and having to deal with publishers, but you have it, you just spent like however many like years potentially like working on it, and then it's like, what now? It's because like you have something, but then like literally nobody knows about it, and other than like your friends and family, and grandma can only write so many like good reviews on your like book for people to pick it up.
yep.
But getting into like book three and on, it really like just kind of started blowing my mind. And I think that second half of Memories of Ice and didn't really slow down until I got to like Reaper Scale. But I think you're in for a treat. Like
Oh,
3 through 6 were like
awesome.
some of
Yeah.
the best fantasy I've ever read.
I have the whole collection up there.
Oh
I
yeah.
picked them up as they came out,
Yeah.
the old paperbacks. And I'm kind of if it's going as well as I think it's going to go, I might invest in. I think it's the Broken Binding that's put out some brand new editions because
Oh
these are a
yeah.
little old. They're not consistent,
Yeah.
and I'm a bookshelf snob, so
I did the same thing. I
I like
probably got
consistency in my series.
yeah. I think I probably got the same ones from there because I keep seeing the same set on everyone's like books or like the same one where it's like just not consistent through like the printing of everything, and generally like the spines
Right.
on them aren't the best. But there was like I think like $100 deal I saw where it's
Covered
like
with.
get the full thing, and I see on people's bookshelves most often that one. So I'm excited like broken binding and some of the other guys that are like making these like custom cover things, especially for bookshelves. It's really fun just to like have that physically on there.
Right. Yeah. I like I'm kind of digging the whole spray paint pitch thing
Oh
too.
yeah,
It just kind of adds a little bit of flavor to things on the shelves. I've seen people actually like paste their books that way with the open page
oh
facing out on their shelves. I don't do that,
yeah,
but
gotcha. It's like next
I
level.
need to see the top.
Yeah. For the most part, for when I put things on my bookshelf, they're like Malazan, I have to read through like print media because any other format, I'm just like, I can't do it through audiobook. And then Kindle is just a little like too unwieldy for me. But for the most part, like if I'm putting something on the bookshelf, I want it to be like the nice version. And it's like basically just eye candy for me at that point. Like I work in my, where I record. So it's like I can just like look at books when I'm like stressed out about looking for like a coding bug or a bug or something, and it's just like this is nice. But
Yeah, absolutely.
some of these are like super cool. Have you seen the new edition they were doing for like Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Oh no, who's putting that up?
Yeah, I don't remember who exactly is printing it out, but it comes with like a collector's box where it's like the don't panic and calming like red letters and
Oh,
everything. So it's like you can present the book, but then also like the rest of it's just like kind of like cool things to like add on to it as well. I don't have it unfortunately, but it is one of those things that I want to get. But when I moved into my last place, I was like, all right, I'm gonna fill up my bookshelf with only the nicest hardcovers, and I did that for like 2 months, and I was like, I don't have any money because I keep spending it on hardcovers. I should probably stop.
hey, there's worse habits.
Yeah, yeah. I would like tell my dad about like the money I'll spend on like YouTube or like books and things, and he always has like the same response. It's like, at least you're not doing drugs. I'm like, thanks, Dad. I appreciate this.
Yeah, and you're doing something with it too. You got your booktube.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is
Cool.
fun. I mean, one of those like on a whim things. I think I started mine mainly to like study books because I had read a lot and I knew like I guess big influences on like what I wanted to actually like write like. But I would have like a handful of book friends like in real life, and I realized when I was like talking to them when I was trying to like describe why I liked a book, I would generally devolve into like plot moments of like, oh, you should read this because it's like so epic and there's one part and this and that. But I didn't really like know how to say why this was like good versus the other. So that was just like a skill when I was watching people like or I guess a few other booktubers. It was something I always like enjoyed kind of seeing like their takes on it and learning how to develop a take on certain things, which is kind of like a fun thing to do. And now it's like spiraled into like I guess one of my like major main hobbies, which is a lot of fun. Which I know where else are you gonna find like nerdy book friends that you can talk for hours about books with without holding them hostage?
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I all of my close friends they support me, but they're like, they don't read.
Yeah, yeah,
Or yeah, they don't I can't talk really about it, and they just kind of look at me, and it's just like, and know who I am. But it's nice to do that. And I think for me it's a little more of a accountability for myself too. Reading first and foremost is a pleasure.
yeah,
But I think I like the aspect of thinking about a book and then you know sharing that sharing that experience,
yeah,
like you said, because like mind on that aspect.
yeah.
So and I think that was one of the things that I wanted to this channel. Like, I really love fantasy. I'm writing fantasy,
Yeah.
and I want to share these ideals and these passions.
Okay.
I mean, my other option was going to be a gaming channel, but
Yeah,
we also will do that. But
yeah.
right now, I just want to focus on those.
I get that. I always think that when you're trying to get good at something, you need to like immerse yourself in that. So for like writing, especially, if you probably still would read if you didn't have a booktube channel, but maybe you wouldn't have necessarily like gone into as much depth as you are like now with certain things, or maybe not like the range of exposure. And that's one thing I liked about, I think it was like your intro. You had like that you want to push and like produce for more indie new published people and everything, but also unintentionally you probably get to see like what's like doing well in the market for things that you're writing now. And you're working on what you're working on now, but until you like put it out there, you can kind of like, oh, this is like how this like author is doing this, or this is like kind of a cool way to like present like that idea, which is something that I think is cool. Or when I was younger, I thought like everything had to be extremely original and like your own, and like no one's ever read it before. And my philosophy on that's completely changed to like, oh, I mean, people will reread the same story. It's just, does it have your own like flair on it, and is it written well? And so I think you can like kind of not crowdsource or like steal, but get inspired by like how some of these other writers are like going about things.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of authors just, I mean, especially in the fantasy genre, there's tropes that are popular that we enjoy
Yeah.
um, for that reason. And it's just, and like you touched it on the head, it's just taking those familiar tropes and just making them a little more your own,
Yeah.
changing things up a little bit, but keeping them there because that's what readers are drawn to.
Yeah.
They like sword and sorcery. They like the chosen one. They like things of that nature. So it's
Yeah.
like, but what are you gonna add to that
Yeah.
rather than just maybe rehash,
Oh, for sure.
a similar story?
So for the thing you're working on, like, do you have like a general idea of like when you actually want to release that? Or and feel free, like, if you don't want to put any details out till it's like done
Oh
to like whatever. But
no, I'm cool with that. So I recently been toying with splitting book one into two books.
okay,
My first draft I actually just finished not too long ago, about a
nice,
month ago,
congrats.
and it was yeah, it's 300,000 words.
Oh wow,
So that's Stormlight Archive. That's
yeah,
that's a chunker. So I wasn't sure if that was going to be the way I want to go for. I wanted to write epic fantasy, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be the way I wanted to go for
yeah,
uh, books. So I did talk a little bit with a couple of other authors and all that. And yeah, I found a place, I think, in book one where I think would make a good conclusion. And it does fall sort of in the middle of that book. So I think it'd be perfect. And then
okay,
this kind of gave me book two
yeah,
automatically. And then I'm hoping with that in mind, I can get maybe ready for publication by the end of hopefully.
okay, nice. I mean, that's what Raymond Feist did. Was like the original Magician series was like just one giant chonker of a book, and then like traditional publishers were like, all right, just split it up here. And it's interesting because
Right.
like you can tell that it's one thing I think is interesting with debuts or like indie writers, because like especially web serial, they'll like push out like chapter by chapter, and you can kind of watch them get better chapter by chapter because they're not like going back and like editing like one cohesive thing. But like I enjoyed Magician's Apprentice, but I loved Magician's Master because it just like read like two completely separate authors. Like all the same characters and stuff were there, but like just seeing the second half of that was like really cool. And if you split yours into two and like focus all your editing on one and then go edit the second one, it's like you just like edited like a full sized book. So I'm sure you're gonna like be better at editing when you get to like the second one, which is always interesting. That was
Yeah, I mean, and not to mention cost and all that
oh
for
yeah,
something that's going to be that big. You don't want to for, I think, especially if you're going
oh
to
yeah.
be a. So yeah, I see a comment. Are you writing fantasy, or are you writing something else? Or
Yeah, so I have a bunch of novellas that are sitting in a dark recess of a desk that I will probably eventually go back and edit through there just so I can get through that process. Right now, I'm in the middle of, I'll probably be 150 to 200k words, and I'm about like halfway through the first draft of it. But it's kind of like if the Count of Monte Cristo was set in a fantasy dystopian world with and the main
Oh,
character had magic. So this is like my first foray because I've done a few like 60 to 80k like novellas and stuff just to like really like crank out the process. And I was kind of worried about having like massive jumps in ability, and like you only can debut once too. So I might release some of those after I edit them like under like a false name. But the thing now is basically just would you put the Lies of Locke Lamora as like epic fantasy or more just regular fantasy?
um, I guess I think everyone has their own definitions.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I consider epic fantasy more of the lines of like multiple
Yeah.
characters, more on a global scale of you know
Okay.
what's going on,
Yeah.
political intrigue and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, maybe just like regular
Yeah. So
gaslight.
this one I'm planning on like having it where it could be a standalone, but enough like places where I could go to release more if I wanted to. But the epic fantasy has been like what I've read the most of and probably what's the most intriguing to me. So I want to do that, but also, kind of like I try to make a bunch of different like genres of videos from like sketches to like reviews, and not all of it's just like one singular thing. I do eventually if I can get that going off, and this is like for me, if I can in 10 years like retire and be like a fantasy writer as like my side income or just something to do, that's kind of like the goal. It's not something I need to happen now, but I really like the idea of just writing in as many genres as possible and then trying to like interconnect them.
Oh, cool.
So, Sanderson's like already done it, and I really like Stephen King too with like The Dark Tower. So I think it'd be fun to just do something like that where you just have just one sprawling epic world, and you can just explore that in like as many fun different ways as possible. He's doing like steampunk space opera epic fantasy this with the Stormlight, and just watching that converge in weird ways I think is really cool. And I know the cloud computing cost of this would be a lot, but I think it would be fun too to like set up like secrets like inside of the book where if you get into a sci-fi section, someone might be able to find the IP to like a hidden server someone could potentially set up. And then like if they know how to do, some like basic capture the flag little bits of hacking, then they can find like secret chapters and stuff or like hidden things. I mean, that's like same thing. I have too many hobbies. Like I've done game development, I've done other things, so it's just like when you see those games too, where you can start like inspecting the code and doing certain things and having additional story put up there. I love that idea of like, okay, you wrote something good here, but if you dig a little bit, there's a bunch of like kind of hidden treasures and stuff like that you can also find if you're willing to. But
Very cool.
this is
That's
all
all.
stuff that I have to write a good debut first. And regular fantasy, have it be successful enough to justify me spending all my time doing it, and then just eventually like expand it out. But you know, maybe in like 10 years I'll get to that point. But for now, it's just been mostly fantasy. I like dark
Yeah. I
fantasy,
mean,
grim dark stuff. So it's those lines.
yeah, same. I am toying with a little bit of a sci-fi series. I'll bet in the same
Okay.
realm
Yeah.
as what I have for my fantasy. This uh, different time period. But I think it's a cool thing to be able to like use that same multiverse that we build,
Yeah.
and I think it really shows passion in an author if they really build. Of course, the books themselves have to be something enjoyable for audiences, but
Yeah.
you know, I think I think readers get appreciative of when authors
Yeah. I think
put
so.
a lot of work to it. So,
Yeah. Or it's like people will get excited when, like Malazan's a great example. There's so many ways you can dig into that. And I saw some Reddit posts that I'll have to like send to you where some guy was like, oh, like Reaper's Gale or like Book 8 was like a cipher for this. And I realized that you wrote the entire Malazan as like a postmodern critique of like this specific literary theme. And like he was so excited. He's like, I've been waiting 10 years for someone to notice like what I did. And you're the first person to ever like comment that you figured out this like really elaborate like literary trick that he like learned how to do just from like going to such high levels of education with writing. And like I think that's like the stuff that make like Philip Chase like super excited. But you know, he planted something in there and it took someone 10 years to like figure it out. And it's just like I'm sure that reader and people who saw that was like just having their mind completely blown. And I think it's just like an extra layer of like fun and just adding a little like mystery into things.
It's funny how when I first started writing, how much has carried over the years from my some of my original ideas
Yeah.
into what's current, and I can see Philip's mindset in that because uh, there are elements in there that are probably like 10 years old,
Yeah.
15 years old, but I mature, of course, and
Yeah.
and I make those changes that are necessary. But a lot of that originality is still present,
Yeah.
at least in the first book. Yeah, it's always been kind of just something I needed to do, but life gets in the way sometimes as well,
Yeah.
and it's an excuse, yeah, maybe, but sometimes it's a liable excuse that you just can't get it done.
Yeah. That's fun. I feel like as long as you're like spending any time or working on it, then the amount doesn't matter as much as like the consistency of working on things. But I always had the mindset that I was also like a punk musician when I was like younger and like kind of went through like the whole creative process and trying to make it like as a musician. And I realized very early on that I'd rather not be a starving artist and rather take my time getting good at things and like building an audience and growing it that way versus, being on the sword's edge, I guess. Maybe you'll write things way faster and you have more of a I get like you have to like make it work, but there's so many stories of it not working that I think it's better to just get yourself in a position where you can like fully focus on things and also not starve, which is very nice.
Yeah. Hey, if I can get one, I want the book to do well, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
but if I can get a couple people just love it, and hey, that's cool with me too. I mean, it's I think with writing, it's just really making sure you focus on yourself
yeah,
first, and I think it helps doing things like this, like booktube and all that. Kind of just get used to being in a media, and you do get that better understanding of readers and what they're looking for in books, and uh, so it does help. But I'm if I just want to see it in book form,
yeah.
and if people read it, great, but I'll still keep writing.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was Sanderson. I don't know if he went through all his lectures, or I think maybe it was on one of his podcasts. But he was talking about that because he wrote, I think, something like 8 books that never made it past or into the publishing stage, and like by like book 8, he was working as like a nighttime hotel clerk. So it's like a lot of free time to write and everything, but
Yeah,
it's hard to write like 8 like epic fantasy books and then just like have none of them actually like take off. So he had to make a decision and he was like, okay, well, if like none of these like take off, would I still write? And he was like, for him, his answer was like, if only my friends and like my wife and people that I'm close with like these books and enjoy them, which they enjoyed his early works, it's like that's good enough for me. I can do something else and like I'm still having that like passionate outlet of things I'm doing because I enjoy the process. It's funny that was like the mindset that
right.
led him into being like arguably the number one fantasy writer of all time, or at least like modern current like set. But I think you kind of have to have that mindset. It's like I enjoy this. Do I enjoy showing it to people like around me? They enjoy it, and that's good enough.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But it's fun. I think YouTube too is its own like weird rabbit hole. I remember being like
Yeah.
15 or 16 when like YouTube was still early and like no one was making money off of it, like making videos. And it's one of those like I don't think I would have handled YouTube fame like well when I was like 15 years younger than I am now. But it's kind of like, oh, like if I had started that back then, that probably would have been more viable. So it's like, okay, well, let's see where like this stuff takes off too. But same type of mindset. To me, I just like editing, putting memes in, like dressing up to act absurdly ridiculous, and like making my friends and family laugh just at that. Like that's kind of like all I really wanted off of that. And even now, like with BookTube now, I'm sure like whenever you finish like your editing stuff, like just like some of the connections that you made through this, I know I get them, so I'm assuming you're getting them too. Just I'll have like a lot of indie authors like reach out to me and like submit like books to me to like review and like promote for them. And so it's like, you now have like personal relationships with like other booktubers where it's like if you like send me a manuscript of your thing, like that's automatically jumping to like the front of the line. So, even if you're not like
Yeah.
making money off of YouTube just for like writing there, it's like, maybe you would have gotten like 10 eyes on it before, and now it's like you're getting at least like 100 or like 1,000 just because you get one of your friends to do it or your videos specifically. It's like, oh, I have an audience, cool. People will hopefully click on this and check it out.
Right. Yeah. I think what we touched on briefly about like adding your own stamp to what you do on BookTube.
Yeah,
Make it about your personality as well as the books you read. Of course, too. I mean, that is generally why people go up, but
yeah,
I think adding a little bit of that person, you have that humor to your videos, which makes them fun and entertaining at the same time. Oh, okay, that's a cool book that I want to add on to PBR.
yeah,
And so yeah, and then when you get the word out, especially when you talk about when I talk about how I want to be a supporter for, especially because these authors, they're really, you know, a lot of them just will admit that they don't know how. Sometimes the marketing portion is challenging because you have to do it yourself.
yeah,
So it's like you have to make those cold calls and you have to reach out to to like people like us, booktubers or reviewers or something like along those. Hey, hey, I'm looking for reviews. I'm looking for ways to get my book noticed. And yeah, they live off those reviews
yeah.
or Amazon and Goodreads, other review sites, and uh, but it gets overwhelming too.
Oh,
I have a huge TBR of books I need to read, especially in the indie space. But there are a lot of traditional pub books that I still have to read.
yeah,
I do have the Dark Tower on my TBR for this year. I don't know when I'm going to start it, but
yeah,
I want to get to it this year at some point. There's a few other popular books that I want to get to. Daniel Abraham is one of my favorite authors.
yeah,
The Long Price Quartet, and I want to read The Dagger and the Coin, and I want to read The Ants. So there's a
yeah.
lot of like really popular books too I want to read, but I want to get into these indie books too as well. So I try to make sure there's
Oh, for sure.
on a monthly basis.
I guess slight tangents. For the Dark Tower, are you just gonna go through like the individual Dark Tower books, or are you gonna do like that extended Dark Tower read that goes through
The
like
extended
33
thing,
different
read
books?
like read insomnia
Yeah.
between so and so and so. I was looking at that and I'm like, I don't I don't have the investment time on this. Some
Okay.
of them I have read already, like I have read The Shining,
Yeah.
read Salem's Lot, and so there's a few that I've read, but I am probably gonna go with read them.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm gonna go the extent route.
Yeah, that was the
Maybe
Dark
it's
Tower.
maybe it's less maybe it's less rewarding, but that's a lot of Stephen King.
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially if you're reviewing each one too. It's just like that's what threw me off with YouTube is just the time, like, I can read fast, but then I'll spend like longer than I read the book trying to like put my thoughts together and make a video about it. It's one of those
Right.
highly respect like Matt for being able to like immediately like put out a good video. Just like, I finished the book. Here's coherent thoughts that are engaging and interesting, and I'm going to do that every third day for like 4 years straight. And I was like, that's super impressive, man. Wife and kids and family,
He's
career
a
too. Just
speedy reader. He was,
yeah.
yeah, he's a fast reader. I'm not a fast reader.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this booktube is a casual thing for me. If
Yeah.
they like if it grows, great. Awesome. But I'm fighting right now with consistency on getting a
Okay.
video out on a certain day.
Yeah.
That's my goal for
Yeah.
going into the second year of booktube. So
Nice. That's better than I've been doing. So it's like,
right, yeah. I mean, I have such inconsistency. So
yeah.
I need to fix that, and I don't think half the time. A lot of people have, they don't care when it comes out. I think I put out a poll like half a year ago, and
Yeah.
I said, do you want a consistent schedule from you? You don't really care. You watch it whenever you're available to watch it.
Yeah.
Most people fall in that latter category. They're gonna, even if you put it out every Sunday, you may not watch it until Tuesday anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah. That's cool. I think when you get into live streaming too, that will like help out with a lot of things. Just like, especially with the consistent format I've seen from you, like TBR wrap up, just giving like thoughts on like the individual book. I think it's a lot easier to just not even have to worry about editing, and then you can always clip, edit, do what you want to with your own like live stream, of course. But at least for me, doing this 5 or 6 times, being able to immediately like go off and like go on a rant about like, I just read a indie book series called Beware of Chicken, and it's like Zhao Zhao like progression fantasy. I will make a big series video about it because it wound up becoming like an awesome book that I really really enjoyed. But I wouldn't have gone and like read that and then made a video and then read the next one and made a video if I had to do it through that format. But just by talking about it, I was like, okay, I really like this. It's a lot of fun. Here's a bunch of ideas flowing about like kung fu chickens now, because that's kind of the premise of the plot. Is a guy forsakes martial arts but practices them on his farm, and the animals become aware and they start like also learning martial arts. So it's like a fun premise that's just
That sounds
pretty
awesome.
fun. Yeah.
I want to
It's a fun indie,
add
not to
that.
add to your TBR, but I could not put it down.
Share that in the comment. Share that in the comments or something. So
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it depends on the book. But and I haven't. The one thing I haven't done on the channel is like an individual book review. I usually save them for like either weekly wrap ups, which I find are a little more manageable than monthly wrap ups. Monthly wrap ups is too many thoughts to remember for everything I read for the month. But the weekly wrap ups, it's still fresh in my head. It's like an updater kind of thing. It's like, hey, I'm still reading Shogun or blah blah blah. And but this is what the other book I finished for the week, and I can have like the review as part of the wrap up. So that way I'm not like, it's not dedicated to one book, because I think YouTubers like review videos, but I'm not sure if everybody. It doesn't seem like the traction that say like pop-ups do. What I mean?
Oh yeah. It's
or like tier lists, top 10 lists or something.
Yeah.
Like always do.
It's hard.
But you get into that reviews and they don't seem to do as well, because it's a matter of taste. If you're reviewing one book in that video, and it's like, well, one, I haven't read that book, so I don't want to watch the review of it yet. I don't want to read it before I watch it. All that matters.
Matt came in, said individual review videos for chumps. Yeah, I've realized that with mine. Like some do very well.
If I could do a review, if I could do book reviews like Matt,
every 3
I'd be
days,
doing them all.
crank them out.
I can't do it. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I noticed for me it's like so specific to the video, and then I had this thought in the middle of moving and not posting things was like, you know, people are searching things on YouTube, and so it's like if I make a review on a book I really like that not a lot of people heard about it, how many people are actually like searching that obscure book review, even if you have like a cool thumbnail or like a tagline. So for me, in doing this, I'm gonna switch to more video essay style content, but it's more like not going to be presented so much as like a individual book review, but like that beware of chicken thing. It's such an absurd concept and everything. Then that's an easy like what happens when you teach like a chicken how to do like martial arts, or what happens like that, and then just putting enough effort into it to like have it still be a book review but not presented as such. But the way that you do it, or having a bunch of books together, I think for people who are like more looking for booktube specific content, and that's like I think how they like love digesting it, because otherwise it's like, okay, you're doing a book review on this, someone's gonna search that book review and it's like, oh, Daniel Green's been on booktube for 10 years. It's like he's reviewed it already, so what are you gonna click on, the thing with like 100,000 views or like 40 views?
Yeah, uh, I think the other plus of doing individual book reviews is the longevity
Yeah,
of that uh, video. You know, on an analytical speaking aspect to it, because you know there's only going to be so many times you're going to watch best reads that I did in you know 2022, you know, kind of thing or
yeah,
something like that. But a review of a book that you know a reader would read and it's like, oh man, I want to see what people thought of it, you know, and then they can look up and like you said, uh, find a find a book review from Daniel Green or Matt from Matt's book reviews, or Mike from you know Mike's book reviews, and
yeah,
you know all those channels that do like those really good individual book review aspects, and then you know those videos last a while, and they could be like years old,
oh
but they're still getting the views. So
yeah,
yeah, it's more of they have more of a long understanding, and I obviously like when we do like you know specific year or weekly wrap ups or something.
yeah. I saw one guy, I think it might be Zach's fantasy book reviews. He had a pretty fun way, because like he had like a year of the Cosmere, but he would always do things like 1 star book review for the Way of Kings, and for him like a 1 star is like a 5 star, but like it got people like quickly clicking on his stuff because people were like, you rated this 1 star, and you know his reviews did really well, but then like in the first like little bit of it he'd all be like, I really like this book. 1 star is like my 5 star, and now people are like actually like watching it. So it's like not quite like clickbait, but it's creative enough to get like people to like. It's like, why would you rate it this way? Or you know, more controversial books. I'm excited. I'm gonna do the King Killer Chronicles pretty soon, and I don't think I'll have to
Mhm.
do a lot with that just because there's so much controversy around that. People are looking to see like, oh, is he gonna like shit on it? Is it gonna be controversial? And it's like, you know, stuff like that. Generally, people just wanted nothing but like that content.
Yeah, the it's I I think my worst book that I read, one of the least favorite books I read in last year anyway, was the Three Body Problem, which ironically
Yeah.
now isn't. I actually am enjoying the TV series.
Okay.
Um, and I think what it is for me is I'm very character reader, so I don't feel like the characters were very well in the book. Maybe it's through translation or something along those lines,
Yeah.
but it just didn't click
Okay.
too well. But you know, it's tough when you star rate something. I think for me anyway,
Yeah.
because a 3 star book is actually a really good rate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good rating, but a lot of people don't see it that way.
No.
I think people see um, 3 stars as this, you know, but you know, I think a 3 star, anything 3 stars of course or higher, is considered a really good.
Oh yeah.
And I rarely um, do the Star Wars if unless it's for like a indie author where they do.
Yeah.
Of a book. Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough to rate.
Oh yeah.
For me, it's tough to rate. Sometimes I've used number systems, which is a little easier for me
Yeah.
because there's a lot more leeway. But
Yeah. I
I'm
did
always
them.
curious, and people start mean things different for
Yeah.
different too. So
Yeah. They're so subjective too, because you know you could be like rating like 5 star for like writing quality, for example. But what happens when you have a book that you absolutely love that like was just the most fun you've had like reading it? It's like the enjoyability for the less well written books like higher than maybe like the one that you read, but you can appreciate that the other one's like much technically better and still like a very enjoyable book, but like I had that early on when I used to do like actually rating what I like thought about the book, which I've stopped doing just because of this problem. But I read Hyperion, which I think still is like one of the best written sci-fi books of all time and like holds up still. But then like I read Old Man's War and I had a lot of fun with Old Man's War even though it had like a lot of problems and stuff. So it's like they I think had like similar ratings in my thing, but it's like one was really fun and the other I thought was like, close to like a masterpiece. And it's like you don't really like see that if you're just like looking at like what you're like just stars or like having 5 of these.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I, it's all down to personal taste, of
Yeah.
course. And if if you thought a book was great and it had some issues in it, and you still feel like it deserved the 5 stars because of
Oh
the sheer enjoyment of it, yeah, go for it. I'm all for people 5 starring or 1 starring or whatever they need to, how they felt the book, presented.
yeah.
And I think if I go back now after, and I'm not usually one to be influenced by other people's um, opinions on a book. I usually try to keep an open mind. Like, you know, even if somebody that I think is a very good source for reviews on books, and I'll watch their review and or at least the non-spoiler portion of a review, and then uh, but I'm still able to separate that when I read a book
Oh yeah.
and decide if it's going to be enjoyable for me. Oh, okay, I can see why this book, this guy rated, 5 star. Sure.
Oh, for sure. I think that's like one like good thing at least for like us because taste is just so subjective. I think we were both part of that same like favorite debut of like 2023 video for it was either Matt or Tudor Ramble. I think it was Matt's one, but I like chose Starter Villain because I thought it was a really like fun book, and I like John Scalzi like a lot, and like the personality really showing through. And I saw like Daniel Green, for example, really respect his work, and like I think I agree with like 70-80% of his takes sometimes. But he just released a video just like tearing apart like Starter Villain and everything, and that was like one of my favorite debuts I read like last year. So it's like one of those things that people are gonna like disagree a lot. I had that with a few books where it's like Matt really hated it, but then Andrews was really like Reeds really loved it. So it's like all of like the booktubers I like to watch like are all like completely disagreeing on whether a book's like good or not or just like subjective taste. And I've seen some of my favorite book series just like get torn apart by other people, and it's like okay, that's a fair thing, but I still read that at a time where like it really resonated with me, so it's still like one of my favorite books that I do want to review now. So there's
Yeah, I love when there's like inconsistencies
yeah,
on ratings for a book where like you just said, like one like fully 5 starring it, the other one's like 2 star.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I definitely love that. I mean, I'm definitely in the minority with Three Body Problem. Uh, I just the book just didn't click with
yeah.
her about uh, people I was reading. But now I'm watching the series and I'm like, these actors are like, giving me the expressions that I was needing
Oh
or
yeah,
the emotions that I needed that was missing from the book. So
yeah,
um, yeah, it could change and it can change my perspective of the book. I appreciate a lot of the interesting concepts that were presented. Like, it wasn't looking
yeah.
character. And then yeah, to the comment here, I think yeah, I think 3 stars is I consider it like good, good book, kind of thing, and 4 stars for me would be great, and then I would be like outstanding.
Yeah. I think to some media just translates better to other media. Um,
Mhm.
I liked season one of The Witcher, not so much like as it progressed, but one of the first books I started reading for like Booktube was like the Witcher series, and this was like early. I think my first video was like Hyperion, but like even those like dark room, I was using like this web camera, which like it isn't like the best quality, just the only one like not currently in use. But I like hated the way like those reviews came out. But the books like they were fine, and like they were translated from Polish, and they came out like in the 80s, so like a lot of like maybe at the time they were more like groundbreaking. But for me, the
Mhm.
games had like the best storytelling, and like having like being immersed in that world, that like even like going back and reading them, I was like in love with the game so much that like the book really just didn't like stand out for me. And then I think if I had like seen like season one of like The Witcher, for example, in there, it's like that was still way more enjoyable than me getting through like the first 5 books of like the Witcher series. So some things I think just putting it into like TV or whatever just like works a lot better. I feel that way about
Yeah, and
Game
I'm
of
not.
Thrones too.
How are you? I read Game of Thrones before watching the TV series. I read those years ago, and yeah, I thought they were amazing.
Yeah,
And you can tell in the TV show when they ran out of book material.
yeah,
There's everybody's the controversial season 8, and even sometimes people throw in up to season like late season 6.
yeah.
I mean, you could tell when they ran out of like source material to
Oh yeah.
do the show, and they kind
I guess this
of
is a quick left turn, and we could probably like call it like after this, just because I don't want to like keep you like for too long or anything.
okay,
Did you
yeah, that's
start
fine.
doing season 2 of Wheel of Time?
Yes, I did watch all. I'm Wheel of Time is such a nostalgic read for me.
Yeah,
I right up there with everybody else that it's got a lot of issues, and especially in the middle portion, it is really slow.
yeah,
One of the worst books I've ever read in my life
yeah,
is in the Wheel of Time with Crossroads and Twilight. Um, but there's such a nostalgic portion of it because I did read it early when it was still being published. It was part of my early reading fantasy experience. So I grew up with it for at least, the big portion of my 20s and
yeah,
into my 30s. And so it was part of my life. So I have a love for it. And I'll take any media with Wheel of Time. Am I happy with some of their choices on the show?
yeah.
Absolutely. Um, but at the same time, I'm happy that there's a media for it.
Okay,
I just hope maybe one day it gets back into a little more utilizing the source material.
yeah,
When Jordan provided so much that you can use, and you just totally do something new with it, I think that's why those new elements don't work really well, is because it's not really the source material where your audience is coming from that wants to see it.
yeah. That's I guess like what I wanted to like I guess ask was I didn't watch season 2 because I was really hopeful they were gonna turn around season 1, and then they just like it wasn't all of the major choices, but it was like the small choices that I think really bothered me, like treating side in like they would side R, and just like small little inconsistencies where you could tell a lot of the writers like just didn't really like read the books. But like when you have a adaptation like that where there's a really rich world and story that you could adapt, but instead like they'll use that to try to grab the fan base, and then like I didn't watch this season, but I think they tied Matt's Chandra, which is like a stick where they took the dagger to Shadow Lorgoth and like attached it. And I was like, I'm glad I didn't watch this because that would have like infuriated me. But I've seen other media
Yeah,
do that.
he he MacGyvered the dagger. So
Yeah.
it was it was a yeah. There, like I said, there were some choices, and then diving into Moraine's back family a little bit
Yeah.
was like time that could have gone to like maybe bring Tom back or a major character in the Wheel of Time,
Yeah.
or dive more into Elaine's family. You know, uh,
Yeah.
these are important things, not so much Moraine's sister and her son and this whole convoluted story. But I think Wheel of Time is the TV show is focusing more on a Moraine focused world, and it's at first I thought the season one was trying to manipulate the audience who doesn't know what's going on. That Rand is very important to the story.
Yeah.
But after you establish what he is, and you need to bring that back. I mean, they do a little more focus for sure on Rand and Stu. And I will say, I think what the show has done better is flesh out the villains a little more,
Yeah.
which I felt like might have been Jordan's, like one of Jordan's.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Usually it'd be very epic, epic ends of his good books, where the villain would reveal himself, to the hero.
Yeah.
And they might have a showdown that book, but getting a little more of those villain aspects and villain perspectives is one of the things I appreciate what the show did, especially in with
Okay.
Plan for Your.
Yeah. Yeah, I really loved the Wheel of Time series, kind of like you. That was one of those series that I've reread multiple times, and even with the slump, it was like I just would like start skipping chapters just because I want to get to the next portion after rereading it like the third time. But I've seen it before, and it's just always something I've like been curious about because I've had this reaction from like non-fantasy friends that maybe like kind of lean towards that, but they haven't read the books, but like they'll watch the TV show, and one good thing that happens is like they're like, "Huh, this seems kind of off," and they'll like pick up the Wheel of Time like book series and start like reading because like they just like kind of felt something intuitively was off. But I had this happen with I forgot I think it was The Watch. They had that Discworld adaptation of like Terry Pratchett, where like they put it in the Discworld universe, and like they named it The Watch, which is one of like the most beloved sections of all of Discworld, like Guards, Men at Arms, or like some of my favorite like book series of all time.
I have to read Pratchett.
It's
I haven't read Pratchett.
He's amazing. I mean, the reading order can be kind of weird just because like he I don't think got like good till about like book 7, but it's a 40 book series, and like the guy just had some of the best wit. If you like Neil Gaiman, you'll love him, but just we get like angry about social injustice and weave it into a story where it's like just that very English style, just hijinks happening everywhere, and you're just like having fun along the line, and then all of a sudden you get like smacked with like just a really cool idea, or like just kind of like his own like personal philosophy just out of nowhere, and it's back to hijinks. So it's very good about like nesting things together, and I love this series. It's one of my favorite like book series ever. But like for the TV show, they just like it's The Watch. There's a fan base. We're putting it in like Discworld, and then all of the characters like were just completely different, and like no plot, no story. They were just like it apparently was a good show too, but when I have media does that, even if it's like I love that media, it's just always for me kind of a harder sell to like want to sit down and like actually watch it. So I was just curious how you felt about that, being a big Wheel of Time fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually an open mind. I usually try to keep an open mind. I know adaptations are just going to be different.
Yeah.
I just think some of the choices they make, and then when you make, like you touched on it about magic, the magic this time, when you make rules different in your story or your adaptation,
Yeah.
it's fine if you want to change things around, but then you have to stay consistent with what you do.
Yeah.
And that was probably my biggest gripe so far of this TV series is they're kind of breaking their own rules
Yeah.
of what Robert Jordan established with the magic system.
Yeah.
There's quite a few, several severe inconsistencies in the storytelling that, is definitely a turnoff.
Yeah.
It's like, you're going to change things, that's fine, but stick to your rule of what you changed. Don't, oh, well, audiences aren't liking this change, so let's try to do something different, and
Yeah.
break the rules.
That's probably the biggest thing that's going to make me actually like continue to watch Wheel of Time series, because choices they made in season one with like Perrin and other ones. Now we're going to like spoilers here, but it's like, you've read the
Yeah,
series, like certain things happen in book 8 that require things to happen in book 1, but then like the thing that was supposed to happen in book 1, that part was just specifically given to a different character, and that character is going to be nowhere near the other
absolutely.
stuff. So it's like I'm really curious if they do finish it, like where it's going to go and how they're going to deal with some of those things, if they are even going to deal with those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But cool, Chris. I appreciate you coming by and being part of the
Oh, yeah.
first guest and
We've
everything.
been trying for this for a while now, and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm honored to be your first guest. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming
I'll
on.
be excited to see who you bring on in the future. I'll be definitely comments if I can, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. And if you ever want to come back on, just let me know. I'm always happy to have them on. Right now, I think I only have about like 4 or 5 people I've talked to that I'll probably have come on. So there might be rotating guests at some point, but also streaming still like new thing.
Should bring a party. You should bring a party.
Oh yeah, just get like a full yeah. Once I
Full
figure out
team.
how to like stream with a web or go from a stream to like something, I'll probably try to do that. But
Hey, I'm glad to be your test bunny.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
Fun.
thanks for hopping on.
Cool.
Appreciate the takes, and I'll see you in
Absolutely.
the comments and everything. See ya.
Hi, everybody.
Oh wow. This happened before whenever I go on Discord. Another technical thing I will have to figure out. But hey, thank you all for stopping by. First real thing, so a couple technical difficulties here and there. As always, if you're here in this point of the video, thank you for your endurance. And there is a Discord that you can check out in my community page or on my like about me links, so feel free to join the Bird Clan. We are semi-active in there, but if we get more people in there, I think it'll just be a more fun thing. If you have anybody that wants to come on, let me know. If you are a writer, author, booktuber, what have you, feel free to join. But as always, thank you all for your time and take it easy.